The House That Waited. A Gothic horror story. The road to Blackthorn Hollow narrowed as Elias Harrow approached, the trees leaning inward like gaunt sentinels. Their branches scraped against one another in the wind, whispering in a tongue he could almost understand. His horse snorted uneasily, hooves clattering on the frost-bitten stones. The sun had already dipped behind the hills, leaving only a smear of dying light across the sky. Elias tugged his coat tighter. He had been summoned by letter, an urgent, trembling script from a distant cousin he barely remembered. Come at once. The house is waking. No explanation. No signature beyond the family name, Harrow. He had not seen the Harrow estate since childhood, and even then only from afar. His father had forbidden him from going near it. That house remembers, he used to say, and it does not forgive. Elias had always assumed it was superstition. Now, as the silhouette of the manor rose through the fog, he felt a coldness that had nothing to do with the winter air. Blackthorn Manor stood at the crest of a barren hill, its windows dark, its roof sagging like a creature crouched in wait. The iron gate hung open, one hinge broken, swaying with a long, mournful creak. Elias dismounted and stepped through. The moment his boot touched the path, the wind died. Silence swallowed the world. The summons. The front door opened before he could knock. A woman stood in the threshold, pale, thin, her dark hair streaked with silver, though she could not have been more than 30. Her eyes were hollow, ringed with sleepless shadows. You came, she whispered. Elias searched her face. You must be Lydia Harrow, she said. Your cousin. Please, come inside. Quickly. He followed her into the foyer. The air was stale, heavy with dust and something faintly metallic. The walls were lined with portraits. Stern men and severe women, all bearing the sharp cheekbones and deep-set eyes of the Harrow bloodline. Their gazes seemed to follow him. Lydia shut the door with a trembling hand. I wasn't sure the letter would reach you, she said. The house doesn't like to let things leave. Elias frowned. You wrote that the house is waking. What does that mean? Lydia's lips tightened. It's easier to show you. She led him down a long corridor. The floorboards groaned under their weight, though the sound felt less like wood and more like a sigh. At the end of the hall, she stopped before a door. Before we enter, she said, you must promise me something. Elias hesitated. What is it? No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, do not answer when it calls your name. A chill crawled up his spine. Lydia, what is in there? She opened the door. The room that breathes. The room was empty. At least, that was Elias's first impression. But as he stepped inside, he felt a pressure in the air, like the moment before a storm breaks. The walls were bare, the windows shuttered, the fireplace cold. Yet the room felt alive. Lydia stood beside him, her hands clasped tightly. It started 3 weeks ago. First, it was only sounds. Footsteps, whispers. Then the house began rearranging itself. Elias turned to her. Rearranging. You'll see. As if on cue, the floorboards beneath them shuddered. A low groan rose from the walls, deep and resonant, like the exhale of some slumbering beast. Elias stepped back. What was that? The house, Lydia whispered. It's hungry. Before he could respond, a voice drifted through the room. Soft, familiar. Elias. He froze. The voice came again, closer this time, curling around him like smoke. Elias, come home. His breath caught in his throat. It was his mother's voice, gentle, warm, exactly as he remembered it before she died. He took a step forward. Lydia grabbed his arm. No, don't listen. It lies. But that's my mother. It's not, she hissed. The house knows what you long for. It uses it. The voice shifted, becoming deeper, colder. Elias Harrow, you belong to me. The walls pulsed. The floorboards rippled like muscle beneath skin. Elias stumbled back, heart hammering. What is this place? Lydia's eyes glistened with fear. A curse. A legacy. Prison. The Harrow bloodline is bound to this house. And now that you're here, it won't let you leave. The Harrow curse. They retreated to the study, where Lydia poured 2 glasses of brandy with shaking hands. The house was built by our ancestor, Alistair Harrow, she began. A man obsessed with conquering death. He believed the soul could be bound to a place, anchored, preserved. Elias swallowed. And did he succeed? Lydia gave a hollow laugh. In a way, he bound something to the house, but it wasn't his soul. She opened a leather-bound journal on the desk. The pages were filled with frantic handwriting, diagrams of the manor, and sketches of twisted, faceless figures. This was his final entry, she said, pointing to a page. Elias read, "The house listens. The house learns. It knows my fears, my desires. It grows stronger with every secret I whisper into its walls. I have created not a sanctuary, but a devouring thing. And it wants heirs. It wants blood." Elias looked up. "You think the house is alive?" "I don't think," Lydia said. "I know." A sudden thud echoed from upstairs. Then another. Slow, deliberate footsteps. Lydia's face drained of color. "It's moving again." The portrait hall. They crept into the hallway. The portraits seemed darker now, their eyes gleaming with a strange, wet sheen. Elias paused before one. A tall man with a stern jaw and a scar across his cheek. "That's Alistair," Lydia whispered. As Elias stared, the painted eyes blinked. He stumbled back. "Did you see?" "Yes," Lydia said grimly. "It does that." The footsteps grew louder, descending the staircase at the far end of the hall. Elias strained to see through the gloom. A figure emerged, tall, thin. Its limbs too long, its posture crooked. Its face was obscured by shadow, but its eyes glowed faintly. 2 pale orbs like moons reflected in a black lake. Lydia grabbed Elias's hand. "Run!" They fled down the corridor as the creature's footsteps quickened behind them. The walls trembled. The floor buckled. The house seemed to shift, trying to herd them. They reached a door and Lydia shoved him through, slamming it shut. Silence. Elias pressed his ear to the wood. The footsteps stopped just outside. Then a voice, low, rasping. "Elias, open the door." He backed away, shaking. Lydia whispered, "It won't break the door. Not yet. It wants you to invite it." The heart of the house. They hid in the old servants' quarters, where the air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew. Elias paced. "Why me? Why now?" "Because you're the last male heir," Lydia said. "The house needs a Harrow to anchor itself. Without one, it weakens. It called you here." Elias sank onto a cot. "Then how do we stop it?" Lydia hesitated. "There is a way, but it requires a sacrifice." He looked up sharply. "What kind of sacrifice?" She didn't answer. Instead, she handed him a small iron key. "This opens the cellar," she said. "The heart of the house. Everything began there, and everything must end there." Before Elias could respond, a loud crack split the air. The doorframe splintered. The creature was forcing its way in. Lydia shoved Elias toward a narrow passage. "Go. I'll hold it off." "No, Lydia. Go." He ran. Behind him, he heard her scream. The cellar. The cellar door loomed at the end of a twisting corridor. Elias fumbled with the key, his hands slick with sweat. The lock clicked open. He descended into darkness. The air grew colder with each step. The walls were damp, the stones slick beneath his fingers. A faint red glow pulsed from below, like the heartbeat of some buried titan. At the bottom, he entered a vast chamber. In the center stood a stone altar, cracked and stained with something dark. Chains hung from the ceiling, swaying gently though there was no breeze. And on the far wall, a door. Not a normal door, but a living one. Its surface pulsing like flesh, veins throbbing beneath translucent skin. Elias gagged. The door whispered, "Elias, come home." He staggered back. "No, I won't." The door shuddered, its surface rippling. A shape pressed against it from the other side. A face. His mother's. "Let me out, Elias," it pleaded. "I'm so cold." Tears blurred his vision. "You're not her." The face twisted, melting into a grotesque grin. "No," it hissed, "but I can be." The chamber shook violently. The creature from upstairs descended the stairs, its limbs scraping against the stone. Elias backed toward the altar. The house spoke through the walls, through the floor, through the air itself. "Give yourself. Become mine." He closed his eyes and understood. The sacrifice Lydia had meant was him. But he had another idea. The breaking. The creature lunged. Elias grabbed one of the iron chains and swung it with all his strength. It struck the creature's head with a sickening crack. The thing reeled, shrieking. Elias ran to the altar and seized a rusted dagger lying atop it. The house roared. The fleshy door bulged outward, splitting, birthing a mass of writhing limbs and screaming faces. Elias raised the dagger. "If you want a harrow," he shouted, "take this instead." He plunged the blade into his own palm. Blood splattered across the altar. The house convulsed. The creature shrieked, collapsing into a heap of twitching limbs. The fleshy door writhed, its surface blistering, cracking. Elias pressed his bleeding hand to the altar's center. "End this," he whispered. "End all of it." A blinding light erupted from the stone. The chamber shook violently. The walls split. The ceiling groaned. The house screamed. A sound of rage, of hunger, of centuries of imprisoned souls tearing free. Elias felt himself lifted, weightless, suspended in a storm of light and shadow. Then, silence. The aftermath. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on the hill outside the ruins of Blackthorn Manor. The house had collapsed inward, reduced to a smoldering crater. The sky above was pale with dawn. Beside him, Lydia stirred, bruised but alive. "You did it," she whispered. Elias looked at the ruins. "Did we destroy it?" Lydia shook her head slowly. "Not destroyed, but weakened, dormant." He swallowed. "Will it wake again?" She met his gaze, her expression grim. "It always does." Elias rose unsteadily, staring at the smoking remains. The wind stirred the ashes, and from deep within the rubble, faint and distant, a whisper, "Elias." He turned away, but he knew the truth. The house was waiting, and one day it would call again.